Hey, this is Gary.
This is Mike.
And Daniel. We're not professionals. We're just three addicts sharing our experiences, strength, and hope regarding recovery.
Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in our lives.
Welcome to another episode of the 12th Step Podcast. This is Mike.
And this is Gary.
And this is Daniel.
Good to be together again.
You say that every time, and every time you're right.
That's why I say it. Yeah, we were just reviewing some of the numbers. Thanks to our listeners, we've just crossed a pretty significant threshold in terms of downloads. 28,000 downloads over the time we've been on posting podcasts. That's a lot of folks.
It's remarkable.
Something like that is remarkable. I think Daniel was just telling us, what, 800 a month, 700 a month, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
we
did slump a little bit because of our little slump, but we're gaining traction. I mean, the highest we were almost at 1,000 downloads a month. So, and we're quickly getting back there now that we've got our routine and our rhythm back.
Sounds like we're asking everybody to listen to things twice.
No,
we're not.
Just share it. If you know someone in need, share.
Yeah,
the 12th step.
That's right.
Should be sharing anyway because that's part of the 12th Step Podcast. That's part of the 12th Step. But anyway, yes that's still very remarkable. That's fun, and thank you very much to our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight we're actually going to address an email that has come into us, and we do love our emails. Daniel, give us the email address where we can get our folks to write in. We love to hear from our listeners.
What is the email address? Why is my brain blinking all of a sudden?
Oh my word!
Yes, I know. There it is. Yeah, 12th Step Podcast at gmail.com. That's 12th steppodcast.com. I don't know why I forgot that.
Do you know what podcast you're on, Daniel?
Clearly, I do. But when was the last time someone asked me what the email address was?
Fair point.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's funny.
I need to memorize it.
Well, tonight, this is from Stephen. Thanks, Stephen, for writing in. I'll go ahead and read this. Hey, friends. This is Stephen, and I wanted to share what's been in my heart this week. Lately, I found myself in the middle of chaos, trying to juggle my addiction, my recovery, my work, and my family. Some days it feels like I'm bargaining with chaos itself, trying to negotiate a little peace here, a little balance there. But the truth is, chaos doesn't bargain. When I try to control it, I just end up losing myself, spreading thin between late nights and work, missing moments with my family, and battling that constant pull of addiction that tells me I can manage it all on my own. That's a dangerous lie I've fallen for too many times. Recovery teaches me that balance isn't about controlling every piece of the storm, it's about surrender. It's about pausing long enough to admit that I can't hold it all together on my own and letting my higher power guide me to the next right thing. I don't have it all figured out, but today I'm learning to stop bargaining with the chaos and instead walking through it with faith, humility, and honesty. I'd love to hear from you. What advice do you have for finding balance in your own life? Grateful to you all, Stephen. First of all, that is a fantastic email. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
I'm going to start off. There's a couple things that as I've read over this email a handful of times, I've been thinking about this. I want to share just a few thoughts. First and foremost, it sounds like Stephen is caught up in what we would call life. I think every one of us get an opportunity to try and juggle our addiction, our recovery, our work, our family, and some days it feels like we get it, and some days it feels like we don't. So I guess the point being that I'm trying to make is that if you have in your mind that somehow, some way, all of the efforts that you're making right now in recovery will somehow, some way make your life different than all those components, it probably won't. There'll be days of chaos even in full recovery. There'll be days that are difficult. There'll be days that that are spread out, with work and everything else that's going on in your life. But the different thing is, at least in my own experiences, is that you'll have the tools. It won't be as complex. It'll feel like you have the tools necessary to be able to balance it all, and you'll be able to work through it. That, I think, is the key. I think every one of us still experience a lot of chaos. We all still experience a lot of turmoil, a lot of but the key to it more than anything is we don't get drawn into it. And just because life can sometimes be hard, it doesn't mean we have to go act out as a way of dealing with it. That, I think, is the key to recovery. So this is a great email, but I'm interested to hear what others have to say. So what do you think?
I mean, you're right. Life is full of chaos. I mean, there's so many things that we cannot manage or control. And I like the fact that he does state, like, when I try to control it, I just end up losing myself. I mean, I think that's just kind of speaks to our addiction. You know, every time we tried to control things, we controlled it through our addiction, and it just got worse and worse. When you kind of let go and let it be, and try to instead of controlling, manage situations as they come up. You know, like for me, several months ago, I suddenly found myself unemployed, and instead of like trying to control everything around me, it's like, all right, what things do I need to do? And I started doing daily task lists of, okay, these are the things I have to do. If I didn't get everything done, I moved that task to the next day, and I made sure it got done the next day because I missed it the first day. But those were the things I could manage, and that actually was really healthy for me mentally, because it allowed me to see the things I was doing and progressing in, despite the fact that, like, I wasn't working every day. I still had things that I was managing and doing. You know, my kids were even like, why do you do the list? And I'm like, it's for me. You know, because yes, I have to clean my house, I have to do my dishes, but it was something for me to be able to see that. And so I like how he's recognizing this in his life, that, you know, despite, you know, recovery, his job, his family, some days are hard, some days are easier, and that's the truth. That's just the truth of life. You know, I have a daughter getting married this weekend, and things are crazy and hectic, with curveballs flying left and right. But the best thing is it's like, all right, those things are happening, I'm just going to go with the flow. You know, kind of be like the river. You know, I'm just going to meander down. Sometimes, you know, the water's going to be splashing against rocks. It's going to be turbulent, but eventually it's going to calm down again, and everything's going to be okay.
I think
it's not every weekend you have a daughter get married.
No.
So it will calm down.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's kind of interesting that I think to one degree or another we all fall into this waiting for some perfect or ideal life to materialize.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it works that way. I personally think that our higher power has a plan for us, and we are supposed to grow and learn and you know, learn to rely on him and learn to surrender and do all of these things. And I think in order to accomplish that, you have to go through stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and quite honestly, not that I invite tragedy or difficulty or problems, but when those things come my way, I try very consciously to think, well, I know that part of the plan is working,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that can be kind of an encouraging thought. I also think that what you're bringing to the table has a great deal to do with it. I've seen people who can't get out of their own way. They don't let themselves win. I can't tell you, you know, if you objectively looked at the person's life and what they're dealing with now as opposed to what they were dealing with, it's better.
Yeah.
It's objectively better. But I've seen them pull defeat from the jaws of victory,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and wallow in just some of the smallest things, you know. So I think in order to surrender, to really let that go, or to learn to take life on life's terms, you really have to focus on gratitude. Is something that comes up with. I can go through any day of my life, and at the end of the day or in the middle of the day or whenever, I can choose to make it miserable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or I can look for the things to be grateful for and go that way. And that's not to say that there aren't things beyond my control that make it way more challenging, but you got to take life on life's terms.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and this kind of reminds me, and hopefully this isn't too much of a tangent. There was actually an article I was reading. There was a university several years ago that did this experiment where they put a group of rats in this like utopia type society environment where they got everything was given to them, water, food. They had everything they could have. And then there was this other group of rats that were just like every day. There was challenges. If they wanted food, they had to really work for it and all this stuff. And the ones that had everything perfect, they were fed all the time. At first, they seemed really happy, but then eventually they stopped because they stopped connecting with one another. They stopped interacting with one another, and then eventually that entire group of rats just died out. You know, and then the other ones, even though it was challenging, even though they had to fight for their food and all these difficult things, they actually grew tighter as a closer community. And when one would struggle, it would find another one to console, you know, be with. And it's kind of like they interacted more. And that community of rats grew stronger. And they kept redoing this experiment, and it kept doing the same thing over and over. The ones that had everything given to them, and it was perfect, and there was no challenges, there was no chaos or struggles, every one of those colonies of rats died out. And so I'm just thinking, like, even though it sucks to have our addictions and these challenges and the chaos that enters into our life, I think that kind of shows that we need that. We need that to thrive, to grow, you know, to grow closer to one another, to have empathy and all that. Because without it, like, you know, we'd probably die out.
Yeah, I think we need something to push against.
Yeah, because we just get so self-absorbed and comfortable that why do I need to go talk to Gary, or why do I need to go talk to Mike, or anything like that, or I can just stay in my house. Like, at this point, I can DoorDash. Everything can come to me. Eventually, I think we'd get lonely, we get bored, and we would eventually just find no love of life or anything like that.
Well, how many times have you had that moment in your life where you think to yourself, oh, I really don't want to go do this.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, fine, I'll go to this meeting, or I'll go to this social event, or I'll go to this church function, or I'll go to whatever it is. And when you get there, you have a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Totally worth it. You think that was so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it cost you something
Yeah.
to engage in that. And I think that we need to have those kind of experiences, you know, and I think that if you can learn to push yourself and to go through those kind of things, whatever it is, that things become more meaningful, that you don't have to bargain with chaos. And then, you know, you have to make, there are decisions and habits and things like that you need to develop. You know, you need to take care of yourself. You know, I am going to go to bed on time.
Yeah.
And I am going to get up on time. You know, something my son and I have been doing is, you know, we go do this 5K every morning. Well, nearly every morning. We're about 5 or 4 times a week is what we've been averaging. We've been doing that for a few months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, right?
I've done a few 5Ks and I hate them. I'm not a runner.
Now, I'm not saying we're running them. Most of the time we're just walking and
Okay.
talking about stuff, but we get up and we do it every morning, or nearly every morning. And there are a lot of times where I think, oh my gosh, I really, really don't want to do this. But, you know, every time I get up and do it, I have a good chance to talk with my son and bond with him. I feel better the rest of the day. And that costs something. I have to invest something in that, and then I can be grateful for that. And it's been really, really good for me. And that's just a kind of a minor example of the principle that I think works. And so I think you need to be grateful. I think you need to look at your life in a you know, not only in the details and the nitty gritty of it, but I think you need to step back and really have a look at, you know, what's going on, a big picture kind of a look. In fact, my wife and I, we were talking over this weekend, and I had the privilege of going out for a long weekend, and all of my kids were there, all of my grandkids were there, and my wife and I were sitting there and just kind of basking in everything that was going on. And I can't say that it was a perfect weekend, but looking back at it, it sure feels like it was. You know, and we just said, you know, this is the best we've ever lived.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that my life's not full of troubles,
Yeah.
because,
Well, there's one thing that's standing out here. He says trying to negotiate a little piece here and a little balance there. I don't think it's something you need to negotiate. I think it's something you need to make sure, you plan into your day, into your schedule, like you're doing. You're planning a walk first thing in the morning. That's, it. Some people would say, "Oh my gosh, a 5K, that's horrible." But for you, it's turned into a moment of peace. At least in my mind, a moment of peace and a way to connect with your son.
oh yeah,
And you guys are talking, you're walking, it's enjoyable now. And so that's something you've scheduled in. You went on a trip with your family over the weekend. That was planned, that was scheduled in. So I don't think it's something you negotiate into the chaos. It's something you have to schedule. You have to kind of make sure you have those. When I'm at work, I know I get very tunnel visioned, and if I don't pay attention, I'll just work the whole day. I'll forget to eat. I'll do those things. I have an Alexa here, and at 12:30 every day, it reminds me to go eat. It's annoying. I'll be in the middle of a meeting, and someone's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "It's just my Alexa reminding me I need to go eat." But I have to do those things because otherwise I'll forget.
well, do you know what? Yeah, and do you know what the funny thing is I'm kind of in the same boat. My staff has learned that I am in a way better mood when I have my lunch.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because without asking them to, and I'll point it out. It's like, oh my gosh, I just had lunch and I feel so much better. And 2 or 3 of them have taken it upon themselves to make sure that I go because it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like the thought, I could interpret that by, wow, I must be a real tyrant. Or I can say, oh no, these people care enough about me that they're making sure that I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And do they enjoy the benefits? Yeah, probably. Because you know what? I know I'm way nicer to be with.
Yeah. And I think it does boil down to that, is if we're taking care of ourselves, other things around us start turning more positive than negative.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. In fact, I have a friend of mine who's struggling, trying to find a job, but I'm trying to gently teach this to him, but he's so negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, you're bringing that energy to the table. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You have so much to be grateful for, and you're focusing on this one aspect of your life, and you're letting it eat you up to the point that it's sabotaging everything else.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop in here for just a second while I can, because I want to come to a point that he's asking for specifically, and I want to make sure we've addressed it.
Yes.
His last question is what advice do you have? So I would love to hear from you. What advice do you have in finding balance in your own life? And I've appreciated the comments because as I was reflecting on what I do, I know that we've kind of hit on some of these roundabout, but some very specific things that I know I do. One of the things I have to include in my day has to include some element of self-care. It has to include something that says, this is my time, this is for me, this is allowing me to regroup. I spend a lot of time sitting in a chair and, solving problems for other people, and sometimes that just weighs on me. And so even just to go ride my bike or do something physical, or as Gary's pointing out, a walk, or anything I can do that allows me to have some amount of my time during the day, that seems to do an awful lot for helping with self-care. So as you think about his question, what is it that, what advice do you have in finding balance in your own life? For me, it's a matter of is being able to say, this is my time and nothing takes away from my time, or this is my family time and nothing takes away from that. And we have so many things that interfere with that during a day. It could be phone calls, it could be texts or whatever, just all the stuff that goes on that tries to intercede or tries to interrupt that particular time. And we can do things. We can physically do things to make certain that time's not interrupted. But that's the important thing is that it's set aside specifically. It's intentional for that particular purpose.
I think I'm going to build on what you're saying, Mike. I absolutely agree. But I think 9 times out of 10, what mostly gets in the way of that kind of stuff is actually me. It goes back to that. I need to get out of my own way. Yeah, I need to set aside that my time, or that me time or whatever, and whatever that looks like. You know, I'm going to make sure that my laundry gets done. I'm going to make sure that I go on my walk. I'm going to make sure that I eat my lunch.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to say it, but the person who gets in the way of that the vast majority of the time is me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll
Yeah.
she makes some other choice. I mean, Daniel, you said yourself that, you know, it's like I'll work through the whole day.
Yeah. Well, I've done it.
And
many
how
times.
long can you do that? How long can you burn the candle at both ends?
I mean, not very long. It does catch up to me, but not much like you, I interact with people so much better after I've ate. I have energy again. I'm not feeling grumpy or anything like that. So that reminder is great. I'll go get me something to eat. I'll get back in, and I'm good again for the rest of the day. Generally, after work, I go for a walk because, you know, it's been stressful. I've been balancing all this stuff, and a walk through the neighborhood or something like that really helps. You know, when it's cold, I'll go over to the mall and walk inside, and just get in a good 30 minutes of walking. It really helps. Probably the greatest tool ever, and a lot of people probably scoff at this, is, you know, I don't have my phone on me all the time. I used to. Like, you know, it sits somewhere else, you know, and I'm not constantly looking at it. So I'm not stressed out. I'm not worried about what text I miss, what phone call I miss. So if I'm spending time playing a game with my kids, or I'm spending time with friends or whatever, I'm focused there. And it's not like, oh, who's calling me? Who's texting? Doesn't matter. When I'm done, then I'll look at it. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then I'll evaluate if it's that urgent for me to call or to reach out to them at that moment.
Do you know that was something that we very deliberately did over this weekend?
Yeah.
Was a lot of times it says, okay, everybody put your phones away. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And, you know, it was kind of interesting, but I think sometimes you need to be bored so that you can learn not to be bored.
Yeah. Well, I mean, over the weekend, I had a niece that was kind of like in crisis, and we decided we were going kayaking up a nearby reservoir. I was taking my kids with me, and I texted them saying, I'm going up on the lake. I am not going to be available. My phone's not going to be with me. So if you have anything that happens, figure it out. I mean, it was kind of harsh, but I mean, I opened the door saying, hey, I'm here to help you out, but it's like been nonstop with messages and phone calls, and it's like, wow, it's just draining me. And so I'm just like, I'm not available during this time.
Do you know, I was talking to my son on one of these early morning walks, and he was talking a little bit about recovery, and I said, I think ultimately sex addiction, or whatever addiction it is, you know, it's a dopamine kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I said, the best advice I can give you is work for your dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there for a reason, but you have to work for it. Make sure you're working for it.
In a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way. Not the quick and easy path, not the, you know, the instant gratification kind of stuff. No, really, go ahead and seek that stuff out, but make sure you're working to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been toying around with that thought a little bit too, and I quite like it.
That's actually a great thought. That really is a great thought. I like that as well. I'm going to add something else to Stephen. One of the things is he starts talking about his universe and all that's going on there. In my own experience, when I start experiencing that kind of chaos, there's a lot of rumination that goes along. So, and rumination in my world is it starts occupying my mind when I'm awake, but oftentimes because my mind doesn't necessarily go to sleep when I go to bed, I'm thinking about it even as I go to sleep, and it may wake me up in the middle of the night. One of the things I have found, we really have to do our very best to control our thoughts in order to get ourselves out of these kind of situations. And so, for me, I like I like something that I have sort of set aside in my mind that I want to think about. That it's going to take me a little time to think it through and to work through it, but I can always go to it when I'm in these moments, and that's been very helpful for me. In my own universe, happens to be a lot of times it has to do with a religious topic of some type. Why this or why that in terms of what it is I'm studying. And so what's great about that is that if I wake up in the middle of the night ruminating about this chaos or this world that I'm living in, I can immediately go to that list of things that I like to spend some time thinking about, and that always calms me down. It takes me out of that ruminating moment and breaks the cycle and helps me think about things that are positive or things that are important to me rather than things that may feel uncontrollable. And I think that's critical. That has been a big, significant piece of my recovery, because so much of my recovery or so much of my acting out experiences when I hit that ruminating moment is when that's when I was the very, very most vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So finding a way to control your mind in terms of what you're thinking about and what you're spending your time on is a big piece of feeling that less chaos.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think that for me has been a significant piece.
I would say the other thing for me is managing my living space.
Mm.
You know,
Absolutely.
I have found that when, I love my kids, but they're still little tornadoes.
Oh, sure.
I have found that I wake up or I'm in a heightened anxiety and a heightened state when my house is in disarray. And just cleaning up my house, cleaning my space, my kitchen, whatever, I can feel it coming down. And so if you can manage, that's something you can control. That's something you can manage by going and doing cleaning and tidying up your space. And if you could do that, that's going to, if your house is clean, you're already going to start at a much lower level.
Well, that's one of those working for a dopamine hit kind of thing. They say that cleaning a space actually gives you one.
Yeah. It's weird. I know no one loves cleaning.
I know.
But, I mean, even this morning, I dropped all my kids off to school. I still can't get them to put dishes into the dishwasher. They're just piled in the sink. But I went through, washed all the dishes, got them done, scrubbed down surfaces. And, just that alone, oh, okay, I'm a little bit better. I went to work, and everything was good. I have other areas I'll have to clean up because, they came through those, but they'll be back tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, so it'll be crazy again. But as long as I keep doing those, my system's kind of okay, we're good. So find the things you can control or manage, I guess is what I'm saying. You can't manage or control other people. You can't manage or control what happens at work or when you're driving or anything like that. But cleaning up your bedroom, your kitchen, those are things you can do. Doing your laundry, cleaning out your car, those are all great things you can do, which give you that dopamine hit that's positive. And, going for a walk, going and having a meaningful conversation with someone, even sitting down and playing cards with someone is fun and enjoyable, and you can have a good conversation. So try to find those things, in my opinion, that give you a little bit of respite from the rest of the chaos that life brings to us.
I think if you can go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say there's just something absolute true about being able to control things that you can actually control, right?
Yeah.
And that's this reminds me so much of the picky worksheet that we get exposed to in our Sage 1 stuff. It's that little exercise of just going through, keeping track of for something like 7 days and scoring yourself on 7 items that simply say, look, these are things that are adding to my chaos, but that I truly can control, and I'm keeping score of the fact that the things that I can control these, because that eliminates the craziness of it all.
Yeah,
I love that little exercise. So that's a worthwhile thing, and I think what you're bringing up is exactly true. If we're living in a chaotic space, and not necessarily managing that in a healthy way, then that adds to the chaos, and that just makes it that much more troubling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
That's a great comment.
I had a fun experience on the way here.
Yeah.
I got to drop off my dry cleaning, and that's been overdue. And I've actually been looking forward to that all weekend. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait because I have tomorrow off. I'm going to go pick it up. And I was really, really looking forward to it because I like a nice, clean, pressed suit.
Yeah.
I wear a suit every day. And so I'm really, really looking forward to that. And it was which is, anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I was just thinking about it. And I thought, I guess I could have looked at that as a chore or something that I had to do, but I've managed to put that into a space of, I'm almost rewarding myself. I'm going to do this thing that I need done, and then I'm going to feel so good about what comes after and be grateful for it. I think that's the other piece that I would really emphasize is learn to be grateful. Learn to be grateful because it changes the lens that you look through your life in, and you start looking for, and it makes all the difference in the world You know, if you can learn to be grateful for the little things, and then suddenly you realize, my gosh, you know, my life is actually way better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I've got stuff to deal with, but
But doesn't everybody, right? I mean, that's literally it. So,
well, yeah,
what a great discussion.
and
What
it-
a great discussion. Go ahead.
it
I'm
does.
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, everybody goes through it, and do you know what? It doesn't stop.
No.
You know, if you're postponing your happiness till you get to this utopian idea of what you think your perfect life is going to be, it's not. Reality of it is that you have to take life on life's terms and then live life, and part of that is being challenged. You know, and if you can learn to meet those challenges and do it deliberately and take care of yourself and work at something meaningful so you get a reward. You know, you work for your dopamine hit, if you will. You know, then, man, life becomes delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great word, delicious. Well, there we go. I think we probably run out of time.
We
but,
have, yeah.
I appreciate the discussion. I really do, and I appreciate the email from Stephen. That was I appreciate the fact that he brought that to our attention. I think sometimes we just get caught up in what's going on in our life, and I so remember so many days that he talks about, right? I mean, each one of us can remember those days of chaos in our own life, and not that they ever go away, because we always experience them. I mean, just today was a fairly chaotic day for me, and yet at the end of the day, I can sit back and look back and think to myself, it was the tools of recovery that helped me get through all of that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So, and thanks again, Stephen, for writing in. I'll go ahead and sign us out. With that, I'll just say this is Mike saying, do the work necessary to find the peace that recovery can bring.
And this is Gary saying, do the next right thing.
And this is Daniel saying, find the humility in your recovery.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find us.
As a fellowship of recovering addicts, Sex Addicts Anonymous offers a message of hope to anyone who suffers from sex addiction. Check out saa-recovery.org.